Hello and welcome to Paradigm Playbook, a podcast for entrepreneurs in the business of sports. Your hosts, Dave Kozak and Steve Cook, are business owners, successful entrepreneurs, sports enthusiasts, avid readers, and longtime friends. For years, they've read every business book on the market and built successful companies with what they've learned. This podcast will give you the critical takeaways in just 15 minutes a week. It's a quick and easy playbook for building a winning sports business. And now, here are your hosts, Dave and Steve.
Did we help you learn, grow, and improve? Leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Paradigm Playbook. I'm your host, Dave Kozak, alongside my co-host, Mr. Steve Cook.
Good morning, David.
Sir?
Another bright, sunny day.
Absolutely.
It's awesome. Let's dig in.
Yeah, so today we wanted to talk about sort of the dilemma that business owners face at some point along the way, which is it's kind of growth, strategy, the scalability. It's the conundrum you face, or as Ami calls it, the growth dilemma, right? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm facing this challenge in my own business right now, so I think it's an appropriate subject matter for me to discuss. But it's, do you do the thing that you make money doing over and over again, more and more and more and more, or do you try and figure out how to scale out and like the 10x multiplier? So a lot of businesses, Steve, I think, you know, you focus on that profitability number. And so you want to grow your profitability year over year. And so, you know, companies target 15% growth, 20% growth, whatever it may be, and they grow that way. And I think that's like the sort of repetition. Do it, tighten it up, do it again, tighten it up, do it again, tighten it up, and you just try and make it better. Maybe you hire a new salesperson each year and whatever it takes to do that. And then there's the other side of growth, which is, you know, you could talk about M&A deals. You could talk about scalability of business, infrastructure, things like that, that sort of opens up this conversation about growth and that dilemma, right?
Yeah, I think it's simply, there's a lot of ways to grow, obviously.
Yep.
I think the key is it accidental growth or intentional growth?
Yep.
So if it's intentional growth and you've got a, you know, kick-ass service or something that you do better than everybody else, well, let's get it to as many people as wide as we go, and let's really spread this out. If, however, your strength is your internal team, your contacts, the customer base that you already have, well, then maybe let's go deeper. Let's take that great customer base we have, and what else can we sell them? What one more thing? So in a sports world, if you're running based on a family membership and you're teaching one child in the class, you know, they're coming in for dance lessons and you have them, and you want to offer, and it's a solid customer base, then you can go deeper and say, okay, well, we already have this customer base. Why not sell, you know, a yoga class to mom? Why not have fitness for dad? Why not, you know, bring Johnny in for, you know, whatever it is? So you're going deep. And I think, not that it's a problem, but it's something that you should be aware of. You unintentionally end up doing both that and reaching your arms wider to the side to pull in a little bit more over here and a little bit more over there. So the wide versus deep dilemma, I think, is there. Ami, and we'll hear on a Playmaker, Ami's going to join us, his dilemma is investing in growth. Is it something where you wait till you have the, you know, extra revenue, you get your EBITDA way up there, and you say, okay, we've got to invest back in the business now, we have the money? Or do you intentionally see where you want to go out and borrow that money and take on some debt to go in that direction?
Yeah, and we've addressed that differently in our organization. And I think it's an interesting point you make, because a lot of people in small business, when they maximize the profit, they take the profit, right? And so, as the business owner, that's typically your paycheck is profit, right? A lot of them structure it that way. We pay ourselves on a W-2 basis in my organization so that we don't have to do crazy tax and stuff. But we came together and decided, here's a baseline that we need to earn for our lives, families and such. And we committed to invest everything else back into the company over and over again. So we do it simultaneously to try and consistently hit that 15-20% growth target, right? Which is different than the situation I'm facing right now, which is I have the potential to scale 100x, but the road to that is more challenging than anything I've faced as a business owner.
Yeah, and in all likelihood, the net on that portion of the business is going to be less than the net on the core business. And I don't think that I didn't bring the topic up thinking that there was one right way to do it. I'm not saying that. And I'm more hung up on the idea of intentional growth and having as part of the plan. We've had the discussion on business plans before, and business plan is great, and it's an absolute to get your business off the ground, to get your initial investors, to get your initial loans, to get everything you want. But it's also critical that you're paying attention to that all along the way, because if not, you can grow wide and reduce your value by lowering your net.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that is a definite topic for discussion. And when you're looking at valuations of business, and especially in the sports business, and there's no absolute anymore. There's no X times EBITDA, X times your gross, or they're all done differently right now. But you do know that if in the end it's profit, and if it's not churning profit, then the value of the business, unless you're accumulating assets, is not going to continue to grow.
Well, and so I go back to something I've said before. One of my mentors along the way said, when you have a $500,000 business, you got $500,000 business problems, and they seem insurmountable. When you have $1 million business, you got $1 million business problems, and all you want are to have those $500,000 business problems you used to have. And as you continue, right, you got a $5 million business, and you just want $1 million business problems. But there's a point in size of business where the problems 10x themselves, meaning the lift to overcome what it is, whether it's a JV opportunity or joint venture opportunity or something where you can expand out, the sort of fruit dangling at the end is like, man, how do we get there? And all of a sudden the work starts all over again, as though you have a $0 business and you're headed to the 10-year growth pattern that you were in.
Well, I mean, it comes down to, being a slave to two masters. And if you want to lock it into something that we understand as baseball, and you have a pitcher and you're trying to have that pitcher, and you're trying to get them to throw faster and with more control all at the same time.
Yeah.
And so let's
and as a pitcher, right, when you're at your best, you're borderline out of control.
Right.
And so it's a very
but the
fine rope to walk.
The line that's used in describing pitchers right now is command.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying, if he has command, then he knows that if he's going to throw a 90+ fastball, he can command it and he can move it around, put it in different spots. The same thing applies to a business. You can go all in and bring in a new marketing plan and bring in 1,000 new customers, but if you don't have command over the processes that are going to run that, then that's not really advisable growth.
No, and it presents the next iteration of problem. And if you're not thinking through, I think that's a great point to summarize it, right? If you haven't thought thoroughly through the solution to handle the growth, right, you're going to end up with a growth problem that is one that can backfire very rapidly, right? Meaning, use infrastructure as a point, right? You have the best way to teach somebody something, whatever it is, and you get 1,000 people to sign up, but you have no way to house 1,000 people, no way to service 1,000 people, no way to control 1,000 people, no way to manage who they are, email them, coordinate with them, right? That's a problem.
Yeah, I'll kind of, pile on that one we see it, I see it in gymnastics a lot. So you're proud of your coaching abilities and you finally get your eyes on a student that okay, this one's got potential and I'm going to grow. And you start coaching, you put a little bit more time into that one and they start advancing a little bit faster. So you're putting more time into it. And the outlier in more time in is it's less profitable. Mm-hmm. So the higher the level of the athlete, the less profitable it is to coach them. But you do so well and they win something and other people see this and say, you know what, I should go there. So now you've got 2. Mm-hmm. Now you got 3. So you're growing the portion of your business that's least profitable. And if that causes you to take your attention off the others. Now, we saw this in the baseball world, years ago, and I think our accidental growth caused us to take on intentional growth. So we started looking at it and said, okay, we got to decide, are we going to try to get kids, seen by colleges, or, in my case, am I going to try to get more little leaguers to the big field? So we made an intentional decision that our focus was little leaguers, to the point where we will make recommendations to high-level athletes to go to a different facility. They're better suited to do that, and that's their growth pattern. So it's a case where, and I think all the sports businesses out there, you're all scratching your heads right now because you think I'm crazy, but you can partner with who you think is a competitor in the business because their growth strategy is different than yours, yet you can both grow. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and I think that applies to every business. It's like you can decide to sell every kind of insurance to your entire customer base, or you can focus on the financial portion that's going to help families get kids through college. Yep. So it's deep or wide.
Well, and what you just described would be what economic game theory would call equilibrium, right?
Yeah.
Where your business grows because you have a launch point for another business, which also grows because they have an intake point that is your exit point. And if you do that well, the next phase of that relationship or that equilibrium is that group that focuses on the older athlete feeds you the younger athlete. Yeah. And now both businesses push forward and can focus on their unique abilities. Sometimes that's joint venture. Sometimes that's M&A. Sometimes that's like merger and acquisition is the M&A side, right?
But sometimes it's also just an arm's length partnership. That it's like, we just agree that we're going to be a little bit different. And, I never had a formal partnership agreement with competitors in the field. But, if you want to be on a travel team, I can tell you where to go. I mean, yeah. I'm not going to run that travel team. So my coaches are there to coach athletes all the time. They're not away at tournaments. They're not away at
They're there for the individual, not for the team.
Yeah. I respect the other side of the business. I'm just not involved in it.
Yeah. And it's funny because you asked me a question yesterday when we were prepping, which is, along the lines of like, what direction am I going and am I doing too much? Right. That was sort of the question.
Well, you took it as a question. It was my way of saying you're doing too much.
Yeah.
But
If you have any business-related questions, feel free to send them over to us at playbook@paradigmplaybook.com. We're here to help.
Yeah. So, and that's what spurred this whole conversation, because I am doing too much. There's no question about that. But the point that I was making is I haven't seen the pathway yet to the destination I desire.
Mm-hmm.
But I see all of these different things that I'm doing as opportunities to show me the pathway to what I want. And at that point, so my funnel is wide right now, and I'm doing all these things. I'm waiting for that. Okay, this is the path that I can duplicate, replicate, take to the next level, and that's what I'll be then focusing on. And so, as a business owner, that's the struggle, I think, that I'm talking about in this growth, wide, deep dilemma, chasm, whatever it is, right? Is the intentional portion. I know what I want, right? I know the outcome that I'm trying to achieve for the company. I have not found the path of least resistance to get there yet. And the path of least resistance is not the easiest path. I don't want to confuse those two. It's the one that allows for the growth that I desire, right? So in some of these opportunities that I have, I could grow 5, 10, 15 sort of associates, right? Some of them that present themselves, I could grow 150 associates. However, the struggle to get to that 150 is, A, is the infrastructure ready? B, is the customer service platform ready? C, are the people that I have ready? And so until I figure out who the players and the stakeholders are in that environment, it's hard to say this is the direction we're going, because I have the steady Eddie path over here, right? So again, doing too much, I would agree, but I'm at one of those crossroads in business where you like when you start a business, you do everything. You're the guy with every hat, right? Mm-hmm. I remember the Comcast commercial. I think it was a Comcast commercial where there was this Dave in HR, and he takes his HR hat off and he goes, "This is Dave in accounting, and this is Dave," and it's like that's where you are in the startup. Well, you get to a point in business, and this is what I was talking about with that sort of when you're looking at that scale, where you've got to get back into all of those pieces, because you need to make sure that each of those pieces, that HR component, that sales component, that customer service component, that infrastructure component, the operations are prepared for the scale that could ensue. So you sort of jump back into like, hey, I'm Dave from HR. You got to be tapped into everything to make sure that when you commit to a opportunity, you can follow through on it.
I think, and our audience is, we have a high portion of relatively small businesses,
Yep.
that are and a good following by new businesses, new small businesses. Mm-hmm. And when you're new and you're small, you usually are not going to turn down anything that's going to be growth. So, it's there was another commercial that guy keeps answering the phone. He says, "Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that. I can do that. Yeah, no, I can do that. I can." And he puts down the phone and says, "How am I going to do that?"
Yeah.
And so that's what's happening in a small business. You're committing to doing all these things. And I think there's some point where your accidental growth, what's coming at you because should get you to a point where you sit down and now say, okay, now I've taken in all this. Now maybe I have to, cut off, put up the goalpost here and narrow it down a little bit. And then you can really do it. So, but you have to go wide to go narrow to go long. So yeah. I don't know if all that makes sense, but
no,
I kind of see it. And because I didn't go into the baseball business saying I'm going to get every kid to every little league or the big field.
Yeah, that came over time.
Yeah, and I, we had some kids that played college, played pro, all that, but where it fit best with my mission, my vision of what I see us doing it's helping more families. And now I am so highly focused on helping the parent understand the child and how they can help them in their sports career, because, and coaches out there that are listening, you'll relate to this. All the times you've heard parents say things to kids where that's pushing them backwards.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to solve that problem.
Yeah. No, I that's why I got it here. So we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
What do you have tools or things that you use when you're considering growth models to help people sort of sort this out?
So a lot of the current clients of Paradigm Playbook are sports-specific businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So in those things, I think marketing is relatively simple, because it's best to do direct marketing to targeted groups. And so that's where I tell everybody, we've had this discussion as well. Is that the number one thing I tell them is to get out of your business. And you've said this 100 times, that if you're working too much in your business, you're not working on your business.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if you're in your business, you can't see your business. So if you're not out there in the community, you don't know what. So one, you really don't know what your brand is. You know what you want your brand to be, but you don't know what it is. So getting out there, and so I was just doing a conversation on how to spend your marketing dollars. And, there's social media, and you can, video is the big thing now. But I was trying to get everybody to not discount face-to-face conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So the best face-to-face conversation is if you can be on a stage. If you can get yourself on a stage, that's number one. In front of a group, that's next. In front of a small group, that's third. 1-on-3, and then it gets down to 1-on-1. But all those things are more impactful than any social media, because you can see their eyes.
Well, and I think there's an even more real point to make there. I cut my teeth at trade shows.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I was working for a travel trailer manufacturer. They made anything from a little pop-up camper to a fifth wheel with 3 bedrooms and slide walls and the whole thing. And when you are at a trade show and people are coming to a trade show for RVs, that's what the trade show is. You have to be able to describe your brand. You have to be able to talk about your product. You have to be able to, in real time, without scripting, without, you got to be able to show people what your company's about. And I think that when you are in that face-to-face, when you are in that group setting, it is not some copywriter writing your information. It is not what you dreamed up and wrote about when you were having a moment of inspiration. It is real. It is you saying what you are and what your company is. So for everybody out there that is running a business, if you can't talk about your unique position, why you did it, what you did it for, and what you expect to create out of it, you're not hitting the mark, right? And I think there's something to being on. You don't have the documents to tell you what to say. No. You don't have the script to read. You don't have the time to write. You've just got to be on it. And I think that'll teach you a great lesson about how you describe yourself, your business, and that will then cement in your mind what you're trying to do. And it's like a cause and effect relationship. The moment you have to say it in real time is the moment it becomes real to you, and the moment you have to go back and create that.
I had to tell you a quick story. This literally just happened in the last 24 hours. So when we started, when we first sat down and said Paradigm Playbook, and it's like, and I said from the beginning, I want to help people with a passion for sports, develop a passion for business and put the two together. So that's always been my thing, but I've never given up. And I have specific passions for specific sports. I won't deny my love of gymnastics and baseball, and they're my thing. So I had clients say to me yesterday, and I'm helping them write a business plan, and they're stumbling over the vision statement. And their daughter was in the room, and I said, you know what, let's let Ellie, I'll call out Ellie. If Ellie's listening to this, she'll know. I said, let Ellie write this. Ellie, picture the perfect gym that your parents are going to run and describe it. Just walk in and just describe it. That's what the vision statement is. And I said, and talk about how you're going to change the lives of every kid that comes in there, and how by doing gymnastics they're going to be better in sports, and how it helped you be a better math student. And I went all that. I got an email this morning from the father. Said, Steve, you've taught me to have a passion for this sport that I never thought was possible. That was because I just talked. Mm-hmm. I told a story, and it was just there. So I think, and we need to dig deeper into a future podcast on stories, because it's a big part of it. But, to get back on this dilemma for growing, I think if you do pay attention to what's going on, and then, as they say, pick your poison and say, okay, here's where I want to go. I may not be able to sell insurance to everybody in this town, but this group I can do this for. And then that is scalable. Mm-hmm. So you narrow and then you go long. So I like the idea, go wide till you go narrow till you go long.
We have this saying between myself and my partners, it's called balls in the air, right? Yeah. And we've always got balls up in the air, and we're waiting for the one to come down. And the reason I think it's important is it goes back to the comment you made about, right, in the beginning, yes, I can do that. Sure, I can do that. Yep, we can do that. Yep, we'll figure it out. Yep, we'll go. That doesn't stop, right? The balls just become heavier, right? And so you can't throw, like, you may juggle 50 light balls. You're only juggling 2 or 3 heavy balls, right? Mm. And so I think where at the beginning you're juggling everything, then you start to juggle opportunities. And I did ask you the question about how you manage these opportunities, and I want to take everybody back to an opportunity filter that I use, because I think it's huge. When you're making a decision, you have to weight the outcome of the decision. How do you weight the outcome of the decision, right? It's to do birthday parties or to not do birthday parties. That could be an opportunity. To add an arcade, to add a fitness class, whatever it is in the sports business, right? To add a product line, to add what is the opportunity? What is the struggle to get there? Like, and you rate these on a 1 to 5, and I think we've shared the opportunity filter before. And you're looking for one to tell you it's an easy lift, it's a high profit, it's a low stressor, and it essentially easiest way to get to a profitable outcome. But as you go bigger in business, this is the point I was trying to make. The ease becomes more difficult, right? So nothing is easy in a larger scaled business. Nothing's easy in a small business either, but your standard operations should be at some point on autopilot, right? You shouldn't have to do a lot to refill and conduct your base core class, right? That should just be a natural course of business at some point, where your instructors are capable of the class. You know that the signups are available based on the marketing that you do. You know that you can operate it between these hours and these hours. You know the space, the people. You know how to manage that. It's now you want to do 7 of those classes and scale it out and have it going on at all times, right? Or you want to open another facility and do the same thing. Those are the times where you start looking at opportunities and filtering them out as to what's the best way to do it, right? And to be honest, Steve, you could have 7 classes that I just described and make less profit than you do by having 2 of them, right? But you got to be able to sort that stuff out. So again, I think small business problems, bigger business problems, huge business problems, right?
Yeah, I think it goes over and over again, and you're gonna try things, and what's gonna lead you to your vision, and so going back to the business plan, The vision is what you see where you're going to be in 5 years. And it's easy to start growing. So you're like this and your growth is all over here. And before you know it, your head's turned and you're running in this direction and your vision is still out there. So this is okay if you change your vision. But if you still want to get there, you can't let the business pull you there. And sometimes it's a no, I can't do that. And so I think that's where that does get easier as you get more successful. It's easier to say, no, that's not what we do. And I think you will get there eventually. This is important.
No, that's next week's podcast for sure.
Yeah.
Is how to say no and when to say no.
Yeah.
I think that is the hardest lesson to learn in business. Period. In my opinion, saying no is the hardest thing to learn.
Yeah.
Because it is just and we'll talk about it next time, but I think that's a huge component of being successful and driving towards that vision.
So, and this is great because, assigning that for next week gives us time to come back. And so there's those stories where you did it right and you did say no. And then the stories where you should have said no.
Nope.
They're also good learning situations that we'll go over next week. But
there's also times where I said no and I should have said yes.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways, but I think that's a great segue from the growth dilemma to learning to say no so that you can attack the growth that you want to attack.
And if we can suggest a little bit of feedback here, I'd really like to know, I guess what's weighing on my mind is, did you make a conscious choice of which way to grow, or did you just follow the path that was growing the fastest at the time? And I think it's different. So I would like to hear.
Did the vision come first or second?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Right, because think about yours, right? You were open for baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The vision to get kids to the big field didn't come until after you realized the struggle of trying to establish the teams and the secondary stuff that was necessary to make all that happen, right?
Well, it also came from, and a lot of what I do in baseball I learned in gymnastics, and I have so many clients, so many friends that kept telling me, I'm losing money on my top team, and I kept hearing that, and I was denying it on the baseball side, but it's no different. I mean, it's every sport, and that's not to say that's not a good business.
Yeah.
There's a good business of taking people there, and there's a good business of, only training Olympic-bound athletes. That's a good business, but it's hard to do the masses, when you have to focus on that because of the time commitments. So.
All right, everybody. I hope you learned something and liked it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. And our next episode, we will talk about how to say no. And when to say no.
No.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we will. Very good, everyone. Make it a great day.
If you know a coach, teacher, or business owner who could use our help, please refer them to us. We appreciate your support.